Hello, I'm Roseanne Hanson with Exploration Quarterly and Exploring Overland. I'm joined today by Tiffany Levy, a nature journaler and book artist who I have always admired her work and her as a person. Really fun to go out in the field with. And she's here today to share with us her journal system, how she started journaling, the types of things she puts in her journal, and what's in her field kit. This is a new series for the magazine, and I hope you enjoy meeting fellow field artists, nature journalers, and sketch artists and find out how they do what they do, why they do it, and what's in their field bag. Thank you, and welcome, Tiffany. Morning, Tiffany. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited for this, our first interview on how do you nature journal? What is your nature journal? And what's in your field bag? This is going to be a really fun regular feature in Exploration Quarterly. And I will also be creating a single volume every year of six special nature journalers. Well, we're all special. Um, uh,
We are all special.
which is really fun because I think one of the best things we can do is see what other people are doing, get ideas, morph your what you do by pulling in ideas from other people. I know I've adopted so many things from what you do, so it's really fun to have these conversations. So let's start first by finding out. So where are you? What's your home base? Where are you?
Where am I? I have been living in the Pacific Northwest in Southwest Washington State, just north of Portland, Oregon, for about 7 years now. And prior to that, I was in the Sierra Nevadas, on the eastern side by South Lake Tahoe. So, mountain living for me. I have been enjoying this new environment of the Pacific Northwest. It's always exciting to be somewhere new and learn what it has to offer.
Oh, yes, I agree. That's one of the great advantages of being a journaler because you're pre-wired to notice and record and get all excited about new places. And it's like the complete opposite of where I am, deserts, um, high grasslands soon. So
Yeah.
forests to me are like a completely alien place.
Well, I found that I didn't think there would be so much different. So that was exciting for me. I came up here thinking, oh, well, I'm still in the mountains and, well, more rainy, but otherwise pretty much the same, completely different. So
Nice.
many new things. So exciting.
Wonderful. Well, tell us how you started. When did you start nature journaling? And what prompted you to start?
So I've kept an art journal for a really long time. Always doodling, always sketching out little stuff when I was pretty young, 10, 11, 12. And it quickly developed into focusing on nature, things of nature, and whether it was animals or plants and environments and landscapes, which I really enjoyed. So I was kind of nature journaling in a sense before nature journaling was a thing. Um, but it wasn't very scientific or, I didn't do a lot of note taking. It was pretty much just making pictures, which I enjoyed. Um, and it was fairly random. It's like the interest struck me, and then I would do it for a little while, and then I may go a year without doing anything at all. So it's just been in the last probably not even 10 years that I have been really trying to be more consistent. Um, Going out and nature journaling on a regular basis, evolving my practice so that I'm noticing more, learning more while I'm out there.
I can see that in your pages, which we
And
got to see in the magazine, which are
yeah,
wonderful. Just such a
thank you.
I can tell you love deep dives into new things and really learning about them.
Yeah, I enjoyed the process. So it's been
Who's
a
who's been an inspiration for you over the years? I know it changes.
it does. And so early on it was mostly books, people that I had publications, um, Kathy Johnson,
Yes.
Claudia Nice,
Oh,
some of
no,
those.
after Kathy, who was it?
Claudia Nice.
How do you spell that?
Um, um, Claudia standard spelling and Nice Nice. So
Hey, nice.
yeah, nice.
We'll have to look
Super
at
simple.
Claudia.
Um,
That's a new person to me.
and she did a lot of black and white pen work with back before fine liners were a thing, she was using drafting pens and those
Right.
kind of
Photographs,
things.
probably.
Yes, yes, exactly. And so she was very inspirational to me in the beginning because her work was beautiful, detailed, a lot about nature. Um, so that was early on. Um, and then it was people on the internet when that finally became, a pretty common way to see other people's work. You didn't have to buy a book, you didn't have to go, you could just see so much more and get inspiration from so many different people from so many different places, which was amazing. Um, and then of course you were a huge inspiration for evolving my style, going from just sitting down and making a picture that was beautiful. I mean, I enjoyed that process and I still do occasionally enjoy just sitting down to make art for the art's sake. Um, but it became much more fulfilling to me when I was doing it with a greater purpose, which was to learn and explore and to find things in nature that I hadn't seen before, see with new eyes, so to speak. Um, but uh, I met John Mirlaws, pretty early on when he was doing his field guide to the Sierra Nevadas.
Oh, nice. That's right. I mean, he would
Yeah.
have been in your neck of the woods for a lot of his work.
Yeah, so he at the very beginning, he came into local schools within the area of his guide, and he came to my kids' school. And a very small school in the Sierra Nevadas, on the eastern side, in Markleeville. So it was a K through 8th school with combined grades, like 80 students total. And so I came and met him there when he was introducing nature journaling to kids at the school.
Wow.
So he was very inspirational as well. I have so many people who have helped me grow as a nature journaler.
Wonderful. And it's always growth. It's always experimenting, bringing new things in, being inspired by new people. I'm going to look up Claudia Nice.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love to hear that. So let's you talked about kind of when and how you came to be. What is so tell us about your, well, let's get right into it. Um, what is your favorite journal style and currently? And why did you choose that? Because you have a unique journal, and I'm really excited to share with people kind of how you came to that. Most folks, Jack favors his large format,
Yes.
perfect bound, which never worked for me. I use a 9 by 6, kind of a custom leather binding. What did you choose and why?
So currently, I'm using a system that is is disc bound, so it doesn't have a permanent binding.
So discs, little,
Yeah, I can show you an example. Let's
it's
see, I've got
quite unique.
Yeah, um, so it has the discs.
And those are
Uh,
solid.
they are solid, although I do have some that I have found, I don't even remember where, unfortunately, that have a hole. So you can put a pen. You
Oh,
can
which
slip a
a lot
pen
of
in
people
there.
like a spiral. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So it functions a little bit like a spiral. Um, but they are solid. They come in a whole bunch of different sizes, so you can have a thin notebook or a thicker notebook. I use really large discs when I make a notebook for Wild Wonder Conference. So I can have all the days in there and all the things I've done and all the handouts all in one spot, all bound together. Um,
And you
I
choose
can
your
make
own paper size because the discs can go any which way, right?
Yeah, so you can be pretty flexible. I do try to stick to a somewhat standard size because I there are accessories available
Right.
because this has been used in the past in a business environment. So like Staples has their own brand, and Office Depot has their own brand. By Arc and Tool.
So it's not esoteric by any means. It's
No, it's
available
out
in
there.
big stores. Nice.
Yeah, so it's out there. But what I like is I can switch pages, like types of paper. I can add in toned paper. I can watercolor paper or lighter paper, just note paper. Sometimes all I want to do is just do scribbles or take notes. Sometimes I just want to print my notes, like I make a list, a packing list or
I
something, and I
noticed
want to,
that. Yes, we saw you're like what I want to make sure I do on this trip. I
or
really
things I want to think about trying to do.
yeah.
Um, so sometimes that's easy, but what I also really enjoy with it is that I can add in handouts and brochures that I receive. All I need to do is make sure that I have the hole punch, right? It
Yes, so
is
you have to have a disc bound hole punch that matches the discs you're using, so they're standardized.
the spacing is standardized, so that if you get a hole punch that has, I think they call it a mushroom punch. Um,
Because the holes are shaped,
it's
they
like
have
a
straight edges
mushroom.
and then they have a little hole, which is what grabs the disc.
Yes, yes. So as long as the spacing is the same, it's consistent across. Happy Planner is one of the big brands that you see at craft stores for doing um, kind of daily journaling, calendaring, that kind of thing. And then it's standardized across the board. Every company that I've ever seen, the spacing is the same. Um, but I try to stay standard to some degree or another just because of some of the accessories you can get. But I have done journals with this system that are like reporter notebooks. So they're just bound at the top and they flip over. But yeah, you can be really creative with it as far as sizing goes.
Nice. Oh, that's wonderful. It looks like the size of your notebooks you use, okay, so here's the thing. It looks like you use a two notebook system. Is that right?
I do. I actually have two different sizes. I like my smaller, let's see.
So tell us about those and why you do it that way.
So I have the two sizes, a little
And you
smaller
make
one.
cuts. What size is that about?
It is 4.5 by 6.5.
Okay.
Okay. And then this is 8.5. Um, Instead of by 5.5, I did it by 6.
Yes.
Uh, so that I could have a little bit of extra room where the tabs were, so I wasn't wasting that space. It's a more convenient size for me. But what I like to do, make sure I have it up right. What I like to do is do sketching as I'm walking, really simple note taking, um, something that's easy to grab and hold while I'm actually out there in the field. Sometimes I'll sit down and spend time in my bigger journal, but if I'm just walking or hiking with a group or walking along, I can have this easily accessible It's messy, messy, messy. I don't care how things are spelled. I don't care if it's pretty or not. I don't care if it even looks like what it's supposed to look like, but I'm making notes. I'm drawing as I'm walking, whatever I'm doing. And I put it all in here, take pictures maybe along the way as well. And then I try to transfer the data when I have more time into something like this. It's a little bit bigger that I plan out a little bit more.
I noticed those are definitely planned, and you create custom covers, especially if you've just done a 2-week trip or an extended trip. You'll have a custom cover for that trip, and then inside you'll have packing lists and information that led up to the trip. I mean, all sorts of ephemera and things that I just think is wonderful. It's such a rich way to capture the whole journey.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes the disc-bound system is really super convenient. With the 3-hole punch system, you could do something very similar, right? You can adjust the size and make it just as big as you need it. I normally pack really heavy for the trip, as far as how much paper I take and what kind of paper, and I have lots of different options. Way more paper than I'd ever need. I couldn't
Yes,
possibly use it all.
I
And
believe
but
what
then I
you
take,
did in your suitcase.
oh my gosh, you probably tried to lift my suitcase
It's
with,
like, no, Jonathan, can you get this?
yes. You have to carry your own suitcase if you're going to be packing that heavy. Um, anyway, yeah, so but the nice part is then when I get home, I can make it exactly the size I need it. I can just adjust, take out what I don't need. I don't have a bound booklet because I used to bind my own booklets.
I want, yeah, show us what was the what's
The
your
cursor, how did this
what's
transition?
the evolution of how you did this?
So several years ago, I got into making my own sketchbooks, and I was doing bound sketchbooks. And they were beautiful, and I loved the process. It was just an extension of the artistic part of it, as far as I was concerned. Let me see if I have one I've made. So, like a sketchbook like this, all bound, it's all together, cute little front papers. And so I started this way, but then I found that, again, a lot of them aren't finished. They're not complete. I haven't finished them to the end because I wanted to try a new paper, or I wanted to try something different, or I didn't want to transition from, that trip to that trip. I made a new one for the next trip. I wanted it all together, and I don't know. For me, it wasn't just a chronological thing, just keep on going until you got to the end. I was bouncing all over the place.
I get it. So it's almost like you have um, supplies ADHD.
Very much. It is very much like the shiny object of the day.
So let me just show people some of the creative things that you do. This was a gift you made for the Alaska Field Arts Boot Camp that came on. Um, Wonderful binding system with beautiful beads and a custom cover. And then everyone signed it and did a little thank you. And it's just a beautiful memento. So you're a very talented bookmaker.
And it matches my journal from.
The cover. So, and I love that. I love that you have that ability for continuity. Look at that. And so you have a page protector cover.
I do. Once I actually have a hardcover that I use on the ones that I'm currently using that are going in and out of my bag constantly. But when I put it into storage, I just do a plastic cover, and the hole punches right through it. So I
Okay, so
can.
you custom cut. And then it looks like you have tabs, dividers on there too. Is that something you use?
I think you'll recognize that.
Oh, I see. So you've laminated something and created, oh,
Oh,
nice.
I just laminate it and then I hole punch it and in it goes. I laminate
Nice.
all kinds of things. My laminator is well used.
Okay, so you have your own laminator. And what I like about the disc bound system, unlike mine, which is also, a kind of a custom, uh,
Mhm.
but mine for me to undo this and put something new in, like ephemera, such as, brochures and
Yeah, yeah.
I got.
I love that. I love the way you did that
Yeah,
though. That's
I
beautiful.
had to bodge it though because unlacing this, I have to unlace the whole thing. And then, I mean, it's just kind of tedious. So I really like the way you do it, because it's so quick, but very neat and tidy.
Yeah, so I can't show I bought a I did buy this. It's a hard plastic cover, so it's quite
Oh,
thick.
yes.
And it helps protect it when it's coming in and out of my bag. And like I said, the nice part about the disc system is I reuse this over and over and over. I just take it off of this one when this one's full or I'm done using it or I decide I want a different cover or whatever. Um, so I'll just swap it out onto new discs and then this helps protect it because it's hard. And then I just switch to just a laminated cover or a
Storage.
plastic. Yeah, yeah.
Really like that. So for when you archive them, do you move them into larger discs and pack them together, or do you archive them just as your trip and the next journal and the next journal?
It it just depends. Like for this, the trips. So when I've done boot camps with you or I've gone on some other trip, I will just archive it as it is. I'll pick discs that are about the right size. It goes away. I am looking for creative ideas on how to label them.
Right.
Um, and I think, well, we can go into that some other time. I'm thinking of creating a just something that clips on and just has a dangly like
Hands
tag.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Because I
maybe
can't
we
think of
can.
anything else creative to, unless I put a paper spine on there that looped around the discs.
Yeah, maybe some of our listeners
Yeah. Somebody can.
we can do a hive thought process and come up with something. Maybe someone who has or here's a new thing for you, who has a 3D printer can create a clip-on, those that they would go on the back. The three-ring binders used to have a thing that you could slide
A little pocket. Yeah.
into. So maybe someone could 3D print a special one for you.
That is amazing. Um, so that's one of the things, but I do like having the option to swap things out and change it up.
So you were talking about these dividers that you got. Show us the dividers and what you did as a creative insert for your journal to hold your paint kit.
Yeah, to hold the palette and also water. So through the office supply, so your Office Depot and that kind of thing, they have index pages that are a little bit of a harder plastic, tabbed, that go into their disc bound system. So they're already pre-hole punched, which is kind of convenient. And so I took one of those, and because I really, really, really was inspired by the board you use in your journal to hold your kit when you're painting, when you're standing, your pocket palette, or even an Altoid tin. Yeah. And this will work for both. So what I did was I took that. Um, oh, you don't need the post-it notes. Those are just there for convenience. So I took one of the index pages. I glued a piece of harder cardboard on there just to give it some some stability. And I took the self-adhesive magnetic strips and I put them on the top of the front and the back. So no matter which side of the journal I'm working on, I can have the magnet. And it just sits in the back all by itself in the back until I need to use it. And then I can just take it out, reposition it. Sorry, can't snap it in
It's
with.
not a one-handed thing.
It is not a one-handed thing, nor in the air thing. Um, so I can just reposition it. And then I can put my kit here. And I have a cup that clips on.
Nice.
And so my pocket palette sits here, that clips there.
Because the pocket palette has a steel on the bottom. It's stainless steel, so it
I
will
did,
stick to the magnet.
it will, it's actually sticking with because of the pans. The
Oh,
pans
because of
are
the.
because the pocket palette itself, I think, is more of
Oh,
an
you're right. It's
aluminum
aluminum.
kind of
It
thing, a
is.
little bit lighter weight. But I did find these, I think they're for phones, but like a little metal
Um,
self-sticky piece. But the pans almost have enough in and of themselves, but I can just stick it on.
nice.
And
That is such a
it's
great
pretty
innovation.
it's pretty secure. Well, other than my pan fell out, but actually the paint did. But and then I clip a cup here.
For
And
when you're not using a water brush and you need a cup for dipping.
and
Nice.
sometimes I clip a paper towel or a rag
Sure.
or something like that. But it's super convenient. And then I can just close this up, take it off. I can leave it that way. I can push it back down, however. But it is convenient, and it doesn't matter which side of the page I'm working on, because if I'm working this way, I have a magnet on the other side.
You're
And
brilliant.
if I'm working this way, I have a magnet on that side. So
I love it. All
it's
right.
convenient. So
Thanks.
um, so that's one of the things, but I do like having the option to swap things out and change it up moment to moment. If I'm feeling a whim that I want to go summery or I want to go southwesty or wherever I
I love
am or whatever is inspiring me at the
that.
moment.
I really do appreciate that. And this system works really, really well. Also, you add photographs. Tell me
From the
about.
mini printer.
I know because I saw that first. Beverly Owens had one at one of
Yeah,
our Sonoran Desert, and I
yeah,
was like, ooh, because you know me, I like to say there is no one way to field journal, nature journal, whatever you want to call it. There is no rule. Like if you want to
yeah,
add photos, add photos. If you want, to only do pretty pictures, do only pretty pictures if that's what makes you happy.
yeah.
And this is about observing and doing recording nature in whatever way works for you. So tell us about the mini printer, which looks so cute.
Which I do not have easily accessible. I
That's all
apologize
right.
for
We've
that.
seen the, I
Uh,
mean, this, it's just a little, it
yeah,
looks like an early iPhone and it's in the pictures. So
yeah, they're small, they're compact, they're Bluetooth, so you don't need to have an internet connection. So you can do it, you could take them anywhere with you. It's about the size of the phone, a little bit thicker, and it uses zinc paper, ZINK. So it's zero ink. So it's basically a more of a like a thermal process, I believe. Well, maybe not thermal. I don't know how it works. Honestly, don't know the whole technical part of it, but
you
it
don't
doesn't
have to
require
load
any
in
ink.
cartridges. It's
No, you buy the special paper. It's really, they're really, really super popular in people who do um, like traveler notebook type journaling, um, travel journaling, all kinds of fun, um, kind of mixed media journaling type stuff. And it is so much fun to add that element in. Sometimes it's either, I don't want to say it's a subject that I find challenging because that doesn't always stop me, but sometimes it's something I'm not sure I want to necessarily try to draw. People, for instance, are really challenging, and they take a lot of mental effort on my part. And sometimes I just want to capture the moment quickly and say, this was such a fun part, or this was something somebody was doing this process. And it's easier to show just in a quick picture than it would be to try and draw the process out.
Yes,
So,
people can see that in the pages in the magazine
yeah,
of you took photos of the paint making process. And
yeah, yeah.
to people like Kate Rudder does really quick sketch noting, and she can capture people doing.
It's amazing.
I know. I just I thought about trying to stretch that skill, and as you know, we could teach ourselves if we just really applied ourselves, right?
Yeah, of
But
course.
I just decided, people never excite me as much as animals.
Different
So
animals.
no, I don't
Yeah.
think that. So being able to quick snap is a really good thing. So again, it's really fun to see. Kate
And
has these skills, we don't. So quick photos.
yeah, and I've noticed that Marley has transitioned into doing some of that as well.
He calls it junk journaling, which is a thing. Um,
Yeah, but also just trying to include, quick captures of people doing things.
oh,
And
yes.
um, the process is, I find it fascinating because I actually do enjoy seeing it, but it is not something that has um, gotten to the point where I feel comfortable trying to
Sure.
accomplish it on my own. So what you do is you take your picture, you have an app on the phone. I have a Canon IV, lots of different companies make these little mini printers. HP makes one. I think Fuji makes one. Kodak probably makes one. A lot of different companies make them.
I think Alex
Um,
Booth just got one, isn't it? It's Polaroid, I think.
yeah, yeah. So lots of different companies, and they're all pretty much a standard. I think it's 2.5 by 3.5 inch. But some companies make sticker sheets. So my paper has a sticker back to it. So
Ooh,
I just peel off the back and stick it in, easy peasy.
nice.
Some of them have round, the sticker part is round. So you can have a round picture, whatever. But I like it. It's easy.
Nice.
You buy the special paper, you put it in, you pick your picture, print it out. Not the highest quality picture you've ever seen. It's not gonna, and I don't know what the longevity is. Like if
Um,
you're saying, okay, well, I want this to last for 100 years, I'm not sure it's going to.
I don't know that,
Maybe,
but
maybe not.
who knows?
I don't know. But it's fun in the moment, and it has certainly lasted long, quite a while. I mean, I have them in journals that are 10 years old, and they're still looking pretty fine.
That
So,
sounds great. Well, tell us about your what's in your everyday field bag. We have an extensive list in the magazine and excellent photos that you did. But give us just a little quick look and tour of your everyday bag.
okay, so I don't want to say I have two because they're combined, but I can separate them out and do a quick one and a not so quick one. So my everyday bag is this one.
And who makes that bag?
Um, it's Ethnotech.
Ethno.
Um, Ethnotech. I
We
think we have it written down.
have it written down.
And they have lots of different styles for the front, and they're made all over the world. So by different artisans, these panels. Um, and then I have this attachment on there. It's separate and apart. It's a different piece. Um, and so I keep my pens and my pocket palettes. Ooh, this one. Keep my pocket palettes in here in the little zipper
Your art
pocket.
toolkit. You favor the art toolkit pocket palette?
It has really served me well. I've had it since the very beginning
Me
when
too.
Maria had
Yep.
first introduced them. So they have evolved with me as an artist, and I like that they're compact, and since I'm not doing big work, the paint lasts for a very long time, even though it's a small amount.
People don't realize that
Yeah.
how much it lasts.
Yeah, I mean, if I was doing big art where the whole page was covered and it was very intense, color, very deep, maybe not as long, but for what I do, a very long time. So anyway, that's the bag. Um, it has, I have spent a lot of time going through bags and trying different ones because I can never seem to find the perfect one. This one has been serving me well for a while, and I've not found a lot of things that I'm like, I really wish this was different about it. Um, but I'm kind of embarrassed to say how many art bags I've tried over the years.
I think we all have a closet. I'll have a closet over there with this little stack of
Oh,
a really
well,
big stack.
I was going to say it may be a bigger stack of different bags, different sizes, different configurations. But like I said, this one has served me well for a while. And I could kind of explain why I particularly like this one
Yeah,
at this point.
tell us what are the features that
Um,
work for you?
so some of the features that work for me is one that it has a zipper that meets in the middle, so I can zip down both sides. I don't have to open it completely. So it sounds like a little thing, but it's super important to me that I don't have a bag that I have to have always open or always closed. I can have it partially open. I also like that when it's hanging over my shoulder, um, it will just hold open, but not like flop down, so I can reach in and leave it open if I want to. Um, it has a front pouch for snacks. Yum, yum. Um, and it has the ability to attach this
Nice.
on the side or anything else. Honestly, it has handles on both sides, so you can attach dangly bits, whether you wanted to hang your water bottle or something off of it. Um, but so far for me, this one has been good. It has, pockets inside that work for me. Everything's easily accessible when I want it.
I think it
Um,
holds a lot.
yeah, it actually does, but it's not so big that I feel like my stuff's flopping around in there.
Okay.
Because it stays put, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not searching around for it because it's moved because there was so much space that I
You
lost
just
stuff
kept
in.
piling stuff in. That's me. I have to be careful because it's like, oh, there's, let's just put this in. Yeah, I just added some stuff to mine that I really probably shouldn't have. Now it's like, this is really heavy.
Yeah, this one is big enough that I can put a short water bottle in it,
Mhm.
but I can also put my binoculars in it.
Oh, nice.
If I, for some reason, I don't want them around my neck at some point while I'm moving around, I can put them in here. So it's big enough, but not too big. Now, if I really want to, I think we talked about this a little bit before. If I really want to bring a lot of different stuff, I just bring my backpack and this.
Right.
This goes over my shoulder and is easily accessible. And I bring my backpack for things like paint making supplies or flower presses or, different things
That's
that
in
I
the
might want to take
pictures.
along.
It kind of shows your
Yeah.
different levels. And then you also have your fast on the fly bag, which is,
Yeah. Which is that tiny one that's on the side there.
and
So
you've got your small journal that can go with that if you want. And
yeah, so so it also has some flexibility because sometimes I'm not going out necessarily to nature journal. I'm just going on a hike, but I have been disappointed many times in my life for not having my art supplies with me. And so I always take at least the small notebook and some kind of writing utensil so that I can capture something if I'm inspired along the way.
I like that. And boy, I can relate to that because I don't really do the two journal system. I have my little field notes, the small,
Mhm. Yeah.
but maybe I would journal in that and then I would have to cut it out and paste it into my main journal. So that works, but it's not nearly as
Yes.
slick. And and really quick as yours. I really like that.
But I noticed that you also cut down some paper and you keep it in your like your field notes or your you have a
Yes, it's
field
a
notes
whole
care like
it,
a wallet
it's my
almost.
wallet. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the they call it the traveler's notebook system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the little leather cover, and it'll you slide your field notes into little elastics. And so yes,
Hmm.
I'll cut watercolor paper. So there'll be like a watercolor insert. And that book
Yeah.
me. So
So you always have something. See, that's the thing. It's like if you're inspired, you just gotta take advantage of it. And
yes.
napkins don't always work.
Especially for watercolor. Well, nice. And you favor, we said the art toolkit uh palette,
Mhm.
but do you use for your water, you used water brushes as well.
So yeah, and not the Pentel, or is it the Pentel one that
Pentel is the
has
most
the
popular.
one that has the bowl, kind of the most common? Yeah.
Common.
For some reason, that one has never. We do not play well together.
Uh-huh.
I do not know why. So I use. I think it's Niji.
Okay, nice.
And it's just a different brand, same
Yep.
concept. Everything else is the same, but I seem to be able to control the water flow a little bit better. I
I
don't
do
know
notice
why.
Pentels being they're so inexpensive as well
I just
that
kind of,
going pen to pen or watercolor pen brush to brush, yeah, the water flow is different each time
yeah.
you open a new one out of the pack. So not great. Um,
Um,
I
but
even tried really expensive ones like Caran d'Ache, but I didn't like those either. So
yeah, it it is definitely one of those things where the value is in the ease and convenience,
yeah,
but not necessarily in the quality or when I'm wanting to do something that has more detail or is something I want to spend more time on, I do have travel brushes
me too.
um, that I use and I'll pull out for that purpose. But a lot of my stuff, water brush it is, easy peasy.
I know
It.
it's just that just I think probably we're similar. I like to I just want to get right to it. I don't want to fuss around with getting a water reservoir out and worry about
Or just
all that.
time wise,
Yeah,
are you going to stop everybody, or are you with
true.
people? Are you alone? What are you doing? Is it a group activity? It just depends. But even at home, though, sometimes it's just easier.
Yep.
But
I was just practicing doing opals for the upcoming around the world in 80 rocks fossils and
I am
well,
so excited for that. It's going to be so
and
much fun.
I just used my water brush because yeah, it was right there and but they are hard to control, so I was having trouble with water control on that one.
Yeah, like I said, it's super convenient, but everything has its pros and cons. So.
Sure, sure. So we talked about your kit. We've got your complete list and the wonderful layout, so people can really see what you like and what brands. And you like fountain pens as well. Is that right?
I love my fountain pen. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship though. Um, I I love them. I love everything about them. I love the marks they make. I love the old-fashioned style of it. The beauty of the instrument itself is so pretty. And then they can be so messy though, and so temperamental. So it's the love needs to be very strong if you want to venture there. But I do, and I have grown to love them more as time has gone on. And you've inspired me to try them again
Okay.
because I had tried them and I had several sitting that I had not used in quite a while. And you did inspire me to try again, and I am very much learning to love them again. So And I have discovered that we could go into the whole thing, but and you have a little bit in the magazine. Inks that say they're waterproof have different levels of waterproofness on different papers.
Yes, and that
And
people don't realize that.
yeah, and so I was super frustrated. I was like buying waterproof ink, and then it was still bleeding. And I was like, why is this? Is it me? Is it what am I doing wrong? Am I not waiting long enough for it to dry? And then I realized that I just needed to test them on the papers that I typically use to
Yeah.
find out which one works best on the paper that I'm using. So that helped me love them a lot more was understanding the ink paper relationship.
That is something you've just inspired me. That should be an article in the magazine, the the ink paper, because we just don't talk about it enough. We talk about watercolor and paper, but we
Yeah.
don't understand that relationship with ink and paper. I used a less expensive watercolor paper in my journal when I couldn't get my favorite the B paper, the BE,
Yeah.
and it became during COVID, it was impossible to get. And the inexpensive one was just horrible with the watercolor. It didn't behave right. It would create puddles and pools because it was cheaper paper. And I think it probably had uh non-archival waste paper in it, because
Yeah, the pH was probably all messed up.
was all over. So but anyway, that's a great point. Um, Before we move on to want to talk about a few final things, kind of more philosophical. Um, you keep bookbinding supplies. We saw your talents there for your larger kit. Why would someone want to have a few basic bookbinding supplies, and what are they?
So I enjoy making little books. It's it can be very, very easy if you have the right tools, and the tools don't need to be extensive.
Right.
Um, Really, all you need is paper the right size that you need. So you might need scissors or some other way to cut your paper to size. But really, the tools to bookbind are an awl, some way to poke a hole in the paper, and an appropriate thread, which can be, I've seen people make journals with dental floss. I mean, you can really be creative or use what you have on hand. I've also seen them made with twine. It doesn't necessarily need to be waxed linen thread that's going to last forever. Use what you have. And then a needle of some kind or the very, very basic supplies that you would need to do a simple booklet. For years, I did make all of my own sketchbooks, um, and I just made them pamphlet style, you know,
Yes. Oh, so those are just bound with simple stitch
one,
binding.
one, one stitch down the end. This one's covered with book cloth, so it looks more like a book,
A book
like
book.
a bound book. But most of them are just sewn simply, all the pages in one folio,
Yes.
just and I can make one of these in 15 minutes. I
Sure.
mean,
Keeping it with you, if you have, spare blank paper, you can make little books to bind into your journal, or you can stitch. I've stitched things into a page when I
yeah,
didn't want to use glue or I knew glue wouldn't work. So having some thread and a needle and all, I can attach
yeah.
things.
And so I have, and I can't remember where I saw this idea, but it just struck me as such an amazingly fun thing to do was taking In this case, the example was taking a greeting card somebody had sent to you, a birthday card, or something that was meaningful, but do you store these forever? But it was something you didn't really want to throw away either. It was something somebody sent to you. And they made them notebook covers,
Oh,
right? So they just took the card and they did a simple binding stitch, and they made them into little notebooks. And in this case, it was like a notebook you would put into your bag or your purse to make notes.
memo book. Yeah.
Um, yeah, just a notebook. But I thought when I'm traveling, if I bought a card, an artist card, a photo card, whatever, I could use those as covers for that particular trip, right?
Oh, what a fun idea.
So a little 5x7 card or a 4x6 card, you can make a little sketchbook for that trip from a card you got while you were out.
Oh, how
And so all you would need is just these very simple supplies. You could whip up something very quick and you would have a notebook that was for that trip.
Oh, that is so great. And Tiffany keeps hers in a similar little, like I keep a whole bunch of
Yes.
little mini tools in here. So there's
You put
little
together a great kit.
yeah.
It was beautiful. It had
Oh,
everything.
yeah. A scalpel for cutting paper, a hole punch, just everything you need can fit in. You can get these little
Bone folder. Yeah,
folders to make a crease. And these come in handy for lots of things. So
I was going to say those have multiple purposes.
yeah,
They're always good to have on
you can
hand.
always use the edge of a pen or something to crease paper. You don't need a special folder, but they
You
are.
don't, like I said, the very, very, very basics is different than what I would use if I were had my supplies available. And a bone folder, glue is always super helpful when you're bookbinding for a variety of different purposes, even if it's just to glue a knot to make sure it stays a knot.
Oh, that's
Um,
true.
you know, because sometimes they don't always stay together, especially if you're using improvised tools like dental floss or something weird.
A little tiny vial of just plain old Elmer's PVA glue is all.
Hmm.
That's all you need. So wonderful. So let's go. I want to ask you a few like kind of more philosophical kind of final questions. Um, so talking about evolution of journaling, do you have any journaling goals this coming year that you're working on? And it's okay if you're like, no, this year is just about survival.
No, actually, I rarely, like set New Year's resolutions like, but I do tend to at the end of one year kind of reflect on what I've done and accomplished and what I might still want to try. But I also do that throughout the year. It's not like, okay, this is my one time a year to get that job done. But I think my biggest goal for myself coming up or in my journey as a nature journaler is one to be more consistent, not just journal when I'm on a trip or not just journal because I'm going to a boot camp or uh, to dedicate and plan out time for that activity, not just when I have time. I live on 6 acres, a little over 6 acres. It's wooded, it's forested. Much of it is adjoining to neighbors' properties that we all share the common open space. I have lots of accessibility to amazing things right outside my door. Um, and sometimes even sitting inside in the armchair looking out the window, I mean, there's just a lot going on, but I don't always commit to it or take the time to set aside for it. And I don't want to allow life to get so busy that I'm not taking time to do those things that I enjoy, that bring me joy and pleasure. But also, I want it to be, for me personally, a way, a path to discovery, right? A way to explore things without being, the great explorer that I, at this point in my life, probably can't be, right? Um,
Never say that. Never say never.
no, no, I don't mean never, but it's like at this point in this moment, going on a big giant explore like I would want to do is probably not feasible. I'm not saying that don't still have that in the plan for something to do. It's not, um, at this point in my life. At this point in time,
Got
right?
it.
Um, got a lot of other commitments and things going on, but you can explore without having to necessarily go on something big like that.
Exactly.
Exploring my own neighborhood, exploring the my own property, quite frankly, getting out there every day, seeing how things change, seeing how things I've never seen before. The other day, I just discovered something I had never seen before, and I was like, has this always been here? How does this happen? Why does this happen? Um, and those kind of explores can be done all over the place, right in your own front yard,
Oh,
or backyard.
that's a great.
So that's probably been one of my goals for this year. Is I have some big trips planned. I'm going to be coming to see you in late March, early April in Arizona. I'm going to Yellowstone, so I have some big trips planned. But I also want to make sure that I'm consistent and enjoying the process every day, or at least more often.
That's a wonderful goal. So if you were to choose, we made you choose. And I know it's hard. A favorite place you've spent time journaling. Where would that be?
Yeah, you had
Traveled a
thrown this one
lot.
out there, and I was like, oh, that is tough. And this is going to sound very, non-answer-ish, but I have really got to say that anytime I am really focused on my nature journaling, it is my favorite place. I mean, it is a favorite place at that moment. I mean, it, like I said, it sounds like a non-answer, and I will also continue on with some of the places that I have found very inspiring over time. But I put a lot of thought into it. I was like, what is my favorite spot? And I really realized that when I'm nature journaling, I am in the moment, and that whatever I'm focused on is the favorite thing at that moment. I mean, I was like, well, is it when I go to the beach, or when I go to the ocean? Is that my favorite? When I go to Yosemite, is Yosemite my favorite? I've spent tons of time at Point Reyes. Is Point Reyes my favorite? Um, is Mount St. Helens my favorite because it's close by and I can spend time there? And it's this environment that is so unique, right? um and I really realized that in the moment, yes, that's my favorite. I want to go back, I want to see more of it. I enjoy it, I love it. But then I think of that next spot and I'm like, oh, but that's really my favorite too. I don't know which one's my favorite. They're all my favorite. Aravaipa Canyon is very much a favorite for me right now. I just can't get enough of it. I just want to be there all the time.
Nice.
Um, if if you're saying you're going, I'm there with you.
Nice.
Um, but then New Mexico came along. I was like,
Yes.
oh no, there's New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico is a favorite. I don't know. They're all favorites.
That's wonderful. No, I like what you said and how you said it, and that's absolutely true. So if
I was like, this may
well,
not be the answer they're looking for, but it's the best I can come up with.
I think it's good, and I bet a lot of us have the same feeling because
Yeah.
that's really the essence of journaling, field sketching, taking notes, is
Yeah.
being in the moment. And so you just reminded us that being in the moment means
Well, and I just love whatever. I mean, if I'm focused on it, it's because I find it interesting or it's exciting, or it's something I'm learning about. It's like I am in that moment and I've stopped and engaged because I'm finding it amazing at the moment. So
Amazing at the moment. I think we need a sticker.
find that thing that's amazing in the moment.
Amazing at the moment. So if you could name anyone from history or contemporary time who you would like to go take out journaling. They don't have to necessarily even be a journaler, but just spend time exploring nature with. Who would that be?
We have our hard one. So as far as contemporary, I have been incredibly fortunate to have met many of the people who inspire me. You, for instance,
Oh,
not only have I met you, but I have become what I would think of as a friend with you and spent lots of time with you and Jonathan both, and met lots of other people that I have stayed in contact with and made lots of friends through you. And that's been beautiful. I have also, like I said, met many, many people who have inspired me artistically. People um, I have books that have been published, um, all kinds of people. I mean, I have lists of people I've met and learned from, or just met and interacted with. And so, like I said, been very, very fortunate in that respect. As far as historically, people who might not be around anymore that I could um, meet. I thought about it a lot. In fact, I did some research, as you know, like who would inspire me? Who would I think of? Um, and I think it would probably be more of an explorer than an artist. Um, that would be what I would enjoy the absolute most. Like a Lewis and Clark expedition or um,
wouldn't it be amazing to drop in from time and join?
yeah, and they did do journaling and they documented their trip and they were going places that they had never been and I mean, hadn't been documented before,
Or
that were truly new to them
new to
in every
Western
way.
white culture, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I think that would be what I would choose. If I really sat down and thought about it and said, if I could just meet up with one person, um, I'm not sure who I would pick, what kind of explorer expedition, but that would be what I think I would choose versus saying, okay, well, I would want to meet up with an artist
Sure.
or, you know, Da Vinci or something like that,
That
which
would be interesting.
I know, which would be very, very cool. But he was kind of more, he explored in his mind, but not necessarily.
No, and you wonder if he would be more, much more I don't want to say difficult, but probably not as interesting in person because like you said, it's all going on up here and it probably wouldn't be the cool experience we would think.
The explore. But anyway, so I think that's kind of where I would head with the historical people.
Nice.
There's just so many interesting and reading through the magazine, some people I had never heard of before. You have introduced me to so many amazing historical figures that I'm like, oh man, that is so amazing. Now I
Well,
need to go do more research.
that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
So wrapping up, what
Okay.
what is the most important advice you would give to someone who's just starting out saying, oh, I'd really love to field sketch, nature journal, but I'm not an artist. I don't know how to do that. I my handwriting's ugly. What
All those things can be fixed.
so that's your first thing of advice. All those things can be
That's all those things can be fixed. I think that my biggest advice is one, be kind to yourself. Um, and it's a hard thing to do. Um, but don't be judgmental about yourself or your work. Don't compare because that's not what you're doing. You can try. I think that it's very valuable and to be inspired by people and look at other people's work and find it inspiring. But the minute you start comparing, it is going to be bad, bad, bad news. Um, but I think being kind to yourself, sticking with it, enjoying the process, no matter the outcome. Whatever you put down is the perfect thing
Nice.
because you did it, you made it, you spent the time, the energy, enjoy the process. And I think one of the other things I would do is say, and I know not everybody agrees with this, but I think keeping your work has value. I know a lot of people are like, if you don't like it, just rip the page out and, give it a toss. If you don't like it, don't look at it ever again. Just get rid of it, do it, be done with it. I think there's value in keeping things so you can see your progress and you can see your development. You can also enjoy looking back and saying, I
Wow.
find, well, I also find that I have so much greater memory of a moment that I spend doing art or nature journaling, even if it's writing or any kind of documentation in any way. I have a better, more complete memory of that moment, even if I like the work that I produced or not. If I don't like what I journaled, or I don't like what I wrote down, or I don't like the poem I tried to create, because poetry is not my thing, and I wish it was, but it's not my thing at all. And I'm not 100% sure it's something I'm going to be able to learn because I've tried. Um, but no matter if I like it or not, it still strikes an amazing memory for me.
Yeah.
And so that would be another thing. And like I said, if you really don't like it and it brings you agony to keep it around, then toss it. But I think there's value in keeping your stuff throughout the years.
At least create a notebook that stays hidden, that you just put them all in, just leave it
Yes.
there. And then if you
Just
want to
don't
look
worry
at
about
it.
it.
But yeah, I that's wonderful advice. And I like that. Well, I really want to thank you for taking so much time, not only talking to us today and sharing so much, but also compiling your list of your kit, which is always really fun. I know everyone likes to say, "Oh, you only need a pen and paper or pencil and paper. You don't need all that stuff." But you know what? We like kit.
It is good.
I like
I,
it. I,
I have a
I
whole room
love
for
fun.
Kit.
Yep. So it's always fun to see what tools we all like to have. So I appreciate that time as well. So well, we'll look forward to seeing you in person in April in Arizona in
That'll
March.
be amazing.
And in the meantime, happy journaling and look forward to seeing what you're going to create in 2025.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye bye.